Hello my loves, thank you for joining me on another video. My name is Annie and I post unsolved and missing persons cases on my channel. If you enjoy this type of content, you're welcome. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Today's case is from the UK. It borders on child endangerment. How a young mother abandons her child for several days to go party with her friends. This is the case of Verphy Kudi. Vethi was born into a decent and loving family in 2002. She was said to be a very bright young girl who was always happy and hyperactive. Her immediate family was quite small. It was just her older sister Aisha, her younger sister, her mom, and her father Muba. She was just a normal kid growing up, well adjusted, right up until the age of 13 when her family began to notice some changes in her. We're not talking about physical changes here. We're talking about behavioral changes. So all of a sudden, Vethi started behaving like she was no longer adjusting well. I think it's fair to use the word maladjusted. Something was off about Vethi. The happy, jolly, good girl who had a close relationship with her father and mother suddenly became secretive and withdrawn from her family. Right about the age of 14, Vethi had begun running away from home for intervals of 2 to 3 weeks. She would return and run away again, return and run away again. And her family did everything to support her and understand why she was being troubled. They even tried counseling, but that didn't help. And that left her mother very, very heartbroken. She continued to be rebellious. Her education began to suffer because she was skipping school for long periods of time. In the course of my research for this video, I came across some police missing persons report that were made at those times she had run away from home, and also some announcements to say she had to be found whenever she returned back home. For instance, this 2017 notice which says that when Vethi had gone missing, she was last seen in Rotherhithe at about 7:50 p.m. on Wednesday, January of 2017. Let me read some part of it for you so that you understand. In it, she's described as black, about 5 feet 6 inches tall, of medium build, with long braided black hair. When Vethi disappeared, she was wearing a black top, black jacket, black jeans, and shiny black shoes. She is known to visit all areas of the capital and Brighton. Officers say they were becoming increasingly concerned for her well-being because of this her constant running away for long periods of time. I can't imagine what her parents were going through, having their beloved daughter behave like this. So eventually, social services will get involved and she was given a social worker and given a placement at a safe house in Norfolk when she was about 15 years old and had gone missing for 5 full weeks. It was there in Norfolk she was said to have been exploited and had become pregnant, so she had to move back to Brighton. Vethi had her daughter Asia on the 22nd of March 2018 and they were placed on a child protection plan. For a while, they actually lived with Vethi's mother, so from the time Vethi had Asia, she had the support of her family. Her parents, especially her mother, took care of both mother and child, making sure they lacked nothing and watching Asia each time Vethi needed to step out. Asia turned 1 year old and a small birthday gathering was done for her. Let me say here that we are not clear who her baby daddy was. I couldn't find out any information about him, but it is said that he wasn't present at Asia's first birthday. Since Vethi was in the system, she and her little girl Asia were then moved to by the council on the 30th of September 2019 to a flat of residential block mainly for vulnerable families. She was staying in a mother and baby unit when she got there. Vethi settled in quite well at the beginning, but she soon started her not so responsible lifestyle, leaving baby Asia at intervals to meet up with friends and attend parties. She was an aspiring model, so she went out to network a lot. Just to be clear, I understand at this point that Vethi still had the support system she needed from her family, and even though she lived away from them, if she needed help, maybe someone to watch Asia or anything, she could only just ask. But for some reasons, Vethi, who was by this time turning 18 years old, chose to do things her way, which most times, by the way, was the wrong way. She got into a new relationship and continued to distance herself from her family. She was a teen mom who was living life as a teen, but neglecting the part of being a mother. In December of 2019, Vethi would be brought back into the spotlight for the wrong reasons, but this time not as a missing person. So at about 6:18 p.m. on October the 11th, 2019, Verphy Kudi will call 999 to say her daughter Asia was not waking up. When paramedics arrived, Vethi then told ambulance staff that Asia had been unwell and she had been treating her with Capol. I think Capol is a medication, and feeding her with milk and bananas. She had laid her down to sleep according to her, and now she wasn't waking up. Vethi even showed them a half bottle of baby's milk she had been allegedly giving Asia, according to her. When paramedics arrived, they discovered Asia was not breathing, and it wasn't just that, she was also already cold and rigor mortis was already setting in. They took her to the Royal Alexandra Children's Hospital, where she was pronounced deceased soon after arrival. Upon further investigations by the doctors at the hospital, they noticed that 20-month-old Asia was severely dehydrated and had serious case of nappy rash. She looked more like a child who had not had anything to eat or drink, nor had her diaper changed in days. Days later, staff at the Brighton Mother and Baby Unit contacted the police after viewing the surveillance footage from the CCTV cameras at the facility. What they had seen on the cameras needed to be seen by the authorities, so they called the police. The cameras showed Vethi leaving the building at about 39 minutes past 5 p.m. on December the 5th, and she didn't return until December the 11th. You heard right. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is 6 full days. So now the police were involved, and Verphy Kudi will now be questioned. When police interviewed her, she claimed that she had been with her child throughout except for one visit to London. She also repeated that she had been feeding her even though little Asia hadn't been feeling so well. However, both the CCTV footage and videos from her cell phone will show otherwise. They told an entirely different story. In fact, they clearly showed that Vethi was away for several days, leaving her 20-month-old daughter in the mother and baby unit that they shared together to fend for herself without food nor water. It's hard to fathom what exactly would prompt such a cruel act from Vethi. As a mother myself, I don't know of any mothers who would just leave their babies by themselves for days on end. But you see, Vethi was turning 18 years old and I wanted to celebrate with her boyfriend and friends. Nothing wrong with that, yeah? But instead of placing her daughter in someone's care, she just up and left her behind like she was too much baggage for her. So let me walk you through the timeline of Vethi's movement from the day she left and came back. So on December the 5th, 2019, CCTV footage shows Vethi leaving alone from the Brighton flat to head to London. It actually shows her living without her child. She meets her boyfriend for dinner in Fulham and tells pals her mom is looking after the baby when they asked after the baby. December the 6th, she eats a donut shack with friends in Putney, southwest London. December the 7th, she attends a Juice 90s concert in Elephant and Castle with friends of hers. Here, she even asked the DJ to announce her birthday, knowing fully well Asia was home alone.
Flashlights out on your birthday girl. Birthday girl, I got one message for you.
December the 9th, she travels to Coventry with her boyfriend and others to help celebrate another friend's birthday. December the 10th, she now heads back to London and stays overnight at a friend's flat. December the 11th, she catches a train to Brighton and pops into M&S before heading back to Asia at the flat. I've been trying to put myself in Verphy's shoes to understand what was going on in her head while she was hopping from one place to another, knowing fully well Isia was alone by herself. But I just don't get it. Clearly, this young lady was truly, really troubled. Well, when the police showed her the CCTV footage of her leaving on the 5th and coming back on the 11th, she then changed her story and confirmed that, of a truth, she left the flat alone on December the 5th and returned 6 days later on December the 11th. Verphy Kudi was then arrested, and in court, more details would emerge that painted a clearer picture of this entire situation. So while out partying with friends, like I said earlier, Verphy had told her friends that her mother was watching the little girl, right? Nobody thought twice about it because it was something her mother had done for her before. She had even broken down at a point saying she missed her daughter Asia. Could it just be her conscience bothering her at that point? Neighbors and staff in the supported housing where Verphy and her daughter lived also said she had misled them into thinking that she had taken Asia with her. They had not known that Asia was left alone, had not heard or even seen anything which suggested that Asia was abandoned. It's difficult to understand how nobody knew Asia was left behind. Had she not cried? Was she not hungry? Did she not make any noise at all? Well, to put this into a better way for all to understand, a consultant pediatrician said it was likely that baby Asia had learned that crying for help did not achieve anything, which explained why neighbors and staff did not hear her. Asia had not cried for her mother because she knew it would be pointless after getting used to not getting attended to whenever she cried. And this brings us to another disturbing aspect of this case. So it emerges that apparently Asia had been left alone 11 times in the 2 months prior to her demise. Remember I told you Vethi began leaving her by herself soon after moving into the mother and baby unit, right? Let me walk you through the timeline of serious times Vethi had neglected her child. The key word here is serious. That means that there were other times she had done the same thing, but these times were not considered as serious. So little Asia was left for 7 hours and 18 minutes on the 23rd of October 2019, and then again on the 7th of November for 10 hours and 37 minutes. On the 19th of November, the Carla's mom, Verphy, still left Asia for 17 hours and 30 minutes, and again for another period of 33 minutes. She then went to a birthday party on the 23rd of November, leaving her daughter alone for a 2-day, 5-hour and 51-minute render. Verphy then left Asia again on the 28th of November for 11 hours and 35 minutes, then abandoning her for the final time on December the 5th to celebrate her 18th birthday across the country. Asia had literally starved and breathed her last by the time Kudi returned on December the 11th, exactly 5 days, 21 hours and 58 minutes after she had departed. A postmortem investigation found that Asia's COD was starvation and influenza with signs of dehydration and severe nausea. So basically, she passed away due to negligence. It emerged in court that Verphy waited about 3 hours to call 999 after she got home that day. CCTV footage will show her going back and forth the dustbin area of the flat. Personally, I think she was trying to clean up the area first to support her concocted story before she called emergency services. When it came to her defense team told the court that she suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, having witnessed domestic violence as a child and being a victim of exploitation. Her family made a statement before the court case, quote, "We are saddened by the current situation as a family. We have many unanswered questions. Verphy has experienced so much at a young age, and we have always done what we can to support her. As a family, we are in the midst of an unbearable tragedy. Not only are we coming to terms with what had happened today, but we are also still grieving for our beloved Asia. We'll be grateful if our privacy can be respected at this moment," end quote. Then speaking after the hearing, Asia's 59-year-old granddad, Verphy Kudi, said, quote, "My heart is so broken. My daughter was missing. She had been missing since the age of 14, end quote. I feel this man's pain. He is clearly speaking about losing Verphy to her troubles and demons at age 14 when she started running away from home. Now he had to deal with losing a grandchild in this manner. The judge hearing the case addressing Verphy said, quote, Asia was a helpless child who relied completely on her mother and had experienced unimaginable physical suffering in the final days of her life. It is almost unbearable to contemplate her suffering in the final days of her life, suffering that she endured so that you could celebrate your birthday and the birthdays of your friends as a carefree teenager, end quote. This case was seriously troubling for everyone who sat through the court hearings. Fast forward to 2021, Verphy was now 19 years old when she pleaded guilty to manslaughter over the demise of 20-month-old Asia, and she was sentenced to 9 years in prison. She will serve 2/3 of her sentence in prison before being released on license. Now let's talk about something else that bothers me about this case. Asia had a protection plan since her birth, but no social worker was assigned to her case. Now, I am not familiar with how the UK system works, but how on earth was the baby under child protection scheme, but there was no social worker appointed at the time of her demise? Staff of that apartment where Verphy and Asia stayed were said to always be present at the entrance to the complex, but were the independent units not regularly audited? Perhaps this would have saved Asia if they checked on the occupants from time to time. For those of us who come from countries where the system does not work, we look at societies like the UK as places where things like this should not happen. As a mother, this case has been particularly distressing for me. For one, this helpless child who relied completely on her mother had experienced unimaginable physical suffering in the final days of her life. The presiding judge, Christine, said, Asa was alone in that flat for 6 days, less 2 hours, unable to do anything to draw attention to her plight. She was a helpless child and relied completely on you as a mother to provide her for her needs, but you failed her. Yes, as a mother, it was Verphy's duty to keep Asa safe from harm. Instead, she selfishly chose to put her own need to party and be with her friends above anything else. Asa must have suffered dreadfully during the days and nights that she was alone in that flat. I pray she rests in peace. That charge should have been taken away from her a long time ago. Only if CPS were paying attention, maybe this entire situation would have been avoided. It's not exactly clear how involved her baby daddy was in their lives. Like I said earlier, it was difficult getting any information on him, but why couldn't she just take her to him if she didn't want the little girl? It is said that her family hadn't even met this guy. The sister was said to have met him only once. It's kind of confusing, the dynamics involved, but the best guess is that he wasn't involved in their lives. But someone else would have helped only if she had asked. At the end of the day, what Verphy did was wrong, and wrong is wrong, and she got 9 years for it. While I bet you if she did this in the US, the penalty would have been stiffer, but all the same, she got punished for what she did. Well, that's it for today's case, guys. Please leave your respectful opinions and comments below. Subscribe to this channel for more true crime coverage. If you enjoy this type of content, please remember to click on the notification bell and give this video a thumbs up. So until next video, have a nice evening.